10 years ago, Bob Lush picked up his first sailing magazine. Since then, he's gambled his job, his home, and even his life in pursuit of this overwhelming obsession. Mike Birch, on the other hand, is a sailor's sailor, an experienced professional who races and delivers yachts for a living. What the two men have in common, apart from the fact that they're both Canadian, is the O-Star, a race alone, without crew, across 3,000 miles of open ocean. The first man credited with sailing the Atlantic alone was Alfred Johnson, who crossed in 1876. Howard Blackburn tried to make a race of it in 1901, even though he'd lost all his fingers, frozen to the oars of his dory during a storm off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. When no one took up the challenge, Blackburn sailed off alone. Another Nova Scotian, Joshua Slocum, drew the attention of the whole world to the rigors and rewards of single-handed sailing. In his book, Sailing Alone Around the World, Slocum recorded his adventures as he crossed the Atlantic and continued on to circumnavigate the world. Up the coast from Slocum's landfall at Newport, Rhode Island, is the harbor of Falmouth, where Mike Birch readies his latest yacht. "46 feet long with a 24-foot beam, this trimaran is obviously a product of modern design and technology. But its roots are in the ancient island cultures of the South Pacific."
Dick Newick, who designed this trimaran and many trimarans, uses Polynesian names for these parts. So this is the vaca, and these two outer hulls, or floaters the French call them, are the ama hulls. So there's two ama hulls, and then the part which goes across to join it together is the aka. Akas, amas, vaca.
How many Canadians in the race?
How many?
Yeah.
Two.
Two?
Yeah.
What a fleet, huh?
Well,
I'll be arriving there late Sunday afternoon, and I'll be staying aboard the boat.
In Toronto, Bob Lush is also getting ready.
I'll be properly dressed.
His boat, Olympus Sailing, has been in England since last summer. At 25 feet, the little Canadian-designed shark is highly modified and strengthened for ocean racing.
This one I'll donate to you. That's the whole of the southeast coast of. Surely you'll hit some part of that.
I'll hit right there.
You had any cough lately?
Just my bit of a smoker's hank.
Take a big breath in, out, in.
That's what happens if you fall.
I don't want to fall in.
I know, but if.
Hard?
That's good.
Okay.
That's great.
Once again?
Sure.
How's that?
Marvelous.
Doesn't hurt? Comfy?
We've
achieved our ends.
Marvelous.
It sure looks wild, too. You got this little pocket here to put a spare cigarette in as well.
Right.
Or whatever.
This safety harness is a gift from a friend. A lot of people encourage Bob. Without their help, he just couldn't go ocean racing.
Everything he does are the things that people would like to do. They like to accomplish something besides going to work in the morning on the GO train and coming back at night and driving the car out to the yacht club and going out around the boys and Wednesday night racing. We all get fun out of doing this here, but Bob's doing that little special thing. He's doing his own thing, and it's him against nature. and he's a transatlantic sailor.
Two years ago, sailing in the French transatlantic race, the Route de Rome, Mike Birch came from behind to beat the race leader by 98 seconds. Photographer-journalist Christian Fevrier from France has followed his career very closely.
Michael, pour moi, c'est un des meilleurs marins du monde que j'ai jamais rencontré.
In '76, when you cut the finishing line in Newport, you were very surprised of your third place in the race. Anyway, Michael Birch, is something changed in your life today?
Yes, yes. Oh, I guess once you've won the races, yeah, something's changed because, as you say, people expect you to do well. So, and lots of people want to beat you and all the rest of it. So, yeah, it's changed a lot. And where I was just doing it, well, I'm still doing it for fun. I still enjoy it, but it is different now than. Because partly I'm able to do it because I'm sponsored. So I'm able to spend more time doing what I'm doing now rather than working.
What do you like in single-handed race? The great length of the race, the confrontation with the other competitors, to experiment new boats, all the pleasure only?
That's a hard question. I guess I like all of those, or most of those sort of things. Sailing of the boat and trying to keep the boat going fast, and there must be some sort of personal satisfaction out of doing most of the jobs yourself that, say, a crew would do when they were racing a boat. Being afraid, I don't know. You can be momentarily anxious. And I guess you could say it's just another word for being afraid of something happening. I mean, Christian and I, when we went across in this trimaran this time last year or earlier in April, and a couple of times it sort of went to about this point and came back again. And those were anxious moments. But it all happens pretty quick, doesn't it? With the sea, you can't tell. You might be lucky and you might not be lucky. It's just a matter of time, I guess.
On April 23rd, Mike Birch sails for England and the start of the O-Star. 10 days later, Bob Lush will leave Toronto by air.
It's not going to go over my fat head.
You look like an Indian.
His girlfriend, Jill Chalmers, is serious about the St. Christopher medal.
The more we got to know each other, the more concerned I became, because there have been sailors who haven't come back. In the last O-Star, 2 were lost. And I think about that, but Bob is a very positive person, and he says, you can't think about things like that. And sometimes at parties, people will come up and say, well, how do you feel about it? And what do you think about if you don't make it? And he says, you don't think about things like that.
I think these races are, apart from accidents, which is, we can't avoid accidents in life, I think they're well organized, safety's good, the preparation for the boats is good, the people on the race are concentrating very hard on sailing the boat. It's easy to fall over when you're not concentrating, but I think when they're on a race by themselves, they're really thinking about it. I've been on boats when Mike has actually fallen overboard and we've had to pick him up, but that's when you're relaxed and thinking about something else. So no, I don't think there's too much of a worry.
When Mike dropped anchor in England, it was in Dartmouth, where he now lives with his wife Josephine and their 2 children. From here, it's only a short sail down the coast to Plymouth. Plymouth has a long seafaring tradition. In Shakespeare's day, men from Plymouth sailed to the Newfoundland fisheries. The Pilgrim Fathers boarded the Mayflower here for their historic voyage to America. Sir Francis Chichester sailed from this port on his lone voyage around the world. It was also from Plymouth that another Sir Francis sailed out to defeat the Spanish Armada. Under Drake's watchful eye, an international armada assembles at Millbay Docks. The last arrivals are led in by Jester. Rigged with a Chinese lug sail, she was built for single-handed sailing by Blondie Hassler, a retired British commando. Back in 1960, he challenged all comers to a transatlantic race. The London Observer newspaper agreed to sponsor the event, and the Observer Singlehanded Transatlantic Race, or OSTAR, was born. The first race was won by Francis Chichester. It took him 40 days in his 40-foot sloop Gypsy Moth. By 1976, a record 125 competitors were sailing everything from the original Jester to the 236-foot Club Mediterranean. Her skipper, Alain Collat of France, managed a second-place finish behind his countryman, Eric Taberley. But the real surprise was Mike Birch, a little-known Canadian who finished third in a small trimaran called Third Turtle.
Would you like to go in the corner as well? See if you'll get in there with the other fellow. Wouldn't it be nice to say 25 days? You must more than break that record.
Mike's win in 1976 earned him the Jester-class trophy for the fastest time among the smaller yachts. This time he will race against the large yachts in the Penduic class.
I'm a bit dubious about those catamaran ones there. I don't think they've ironed all the problems out.
Let me go ahead of the schooner.
The OSTAR is one of the few races in the world where yachts, large and small, monohull and multi-hull, compete against each other.
What's the special appeal of this race for you? You're actually sailing what is just about the smallest boat in the whole fleet.
Well, I'd say it's the smallest.
All right, the smallest boat in the whole fleet. And the smallest sail area, certainly, it's obviously going to be one of the very slowest in the whole fleet. I mean, you've got no hope of winning anything. I mean, is there still an appeal to go in it even under those conditions?
What is the slowest boat in the fleet business? God, Frank. No, actually, she's quite fast. I was out the other day with Louis Toniso. The boat is designed and built, go to weather well, planing hull. I've had my 160, 70-mile days.
But it must be pretty uncomfortable in heavy weather.
Oh, it's dreadful. Oh, yeah. I wear a hockey helmet, keep from scrambling the brains any further.
A very refined form of masochism.
It's a hell of an expensive way to travel 5th class, I'll tell you.
The difficult thing is to decide whether to attempt the shortest route and chance on having to plug against the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Drift and attack and so on, or to have some compromise. Either you could go, as some people have, north of the Azores and then across in about latitude 40, 41, or you can go on a far northerly route, in which case you go on the north side of most of the depressions, and then you get following winds. If you're in a very fast big boat, I think there's probably no doubt that you must try and keep more or less the shortest route. What I should do, I've no idea at the moment.
Whatever route the skippers choose, the east-west crossing of the Atlantic is a treacherous course to sail alone. Each boat is thoroughly inspected by scrutineers from the Royal Western Yacht Club, organizers of the race.
So, the ones you're going to see first are orange smoke. 3 orange smoke, how does that sound?
They're good, I want 4, please.
What do they look like? Black and red on the ends. Here's one.
No.
We're never going to get these in if we take them out. Can we just look at, okay.
No, sorry, old chap, that's your problem.
No, look at this. Okay, these red
I've got
ones.
to check the dates. See?
Of every single one?
Yeah, I've just looked through somebody's brand new outfit and the
Oh.
3 out of date.
Oh, good on.
It's quite nice if you have to let off a white flare. It's, you can, rather than looking at that thing and wondering which is top or bottom of this other thing.
There you go. Okay, Bob, the gruesome bit now. If you fill in the next of kin details, name, relationship and address.
The loss of 2 lives during the 1976 O-Star prompted a decision to install a special transponder on each boat. It sends coded messages at regular intervals to a satellite. When this information is processed by an Earth station computer, the position of each competitor can be plotted to within 1,000 yards. Apart from the safety this affords, it can give media and sailing fans a day-by-day overview of the race. There are only a few days left until race day on June 7th. Photographers and journalists reach epidemic proportions.
Is that Mike Birch?
Shh.
Okay. Yeah.
23, take one. Being truly modest about your own chances, and I know you're generally tipped as the favourite for the race, I mean, who else do you think is likely to be first into Newport?
Well, I don't know about this generally tipped to be favourite. I won't go along with that. I think Nick Kegg has a good chance of being there. And in the multi-hulls, Nick Kegg, Phil Weld, there's those 2 boats particularly.
And if it should turn out to be a monohull race?
Well, I don't know. That's hard to say, really. I think there's some very good monohulls there. They could win the race, I'm sure of it. I mean, they want heavy weather. Like Olivier over there wants sort of southwest 40 knots to start off. So.
North Atlantic weather, whatever the season, is always something quite variable, rather tough, and quite difficult to manage with. And so it makes a very interesting race. I mean, the success of this race since it has been invented 20 years ago has been always growing and now belong to the yachting history.
For me, as I suppose probably for a lot of yachtsmen, to race the Atlantic single-handed is perhaps the ultimate challenge. If you're a mountaineer, perhaps to climb Everest or the north face of the Eiger is a greater challenge. But for me, just to sail to America on my own, going the northern route, is a great challenge.
Well, the company in Plymouth is the very special magic of the moment. And, that I think is what's charging everybody up right now. But the minute we get out past the Lizard, then the second magic of being alone with a very good boat takes over.
Caterina, scrivi. Allora, 60369. Si chiama? Martin Will.
If the boat ever rolls, it's going to be Chinese food again.
On a month-long voyage, the lack of space and extra weight creates a problem in small boats. Even the head, or toilet, is removed and replaced by a plastic bucket.
Everybody should have to take their goddamn shoes off before they come down here.
For many sailors, this day has been 4 years in the making. Yet for Eric Taberley, twice winner of the O-Star, it still arrives too soon. A shoulder injury will prevent him from racing his radical new trimaran.
I proposed to Jill, gave her the ring. Thankfully, she said yes. Shows you how crazy she is.
Georgia. Circa 18.
Have you got your map of the area, you know, where you're not supposed to go? Is that from you and the children?
Until I get back.
Well, we went to bed early last night, and at 11 o'clock we switched on this program about, and of course all it did, Mike was nearly asleep, all it served to do was to excite him thoroughly about the race and make it impossible to sleep. He sort of got hyped up on it.
Competitors will be on their own for a month or maybe more. The record time is just over 20 days, but that was set back in 1970.
Friends and family are allowed to accompany the competitors out to the start area in Plymouth Sound.
You just about go through the roof, honestly, with all the people yelling and screaming and lining the docks and pictures and cameras and oh. From now till the gun goes up, I'm just going up and up and up.
Just woken up. I'm just looking out of the dome right now. Makes this funny hollow sound. And doesn't look like a very nice day. I guess the leaders, according to the radio, Paul Ricard, Phil Weld, and of course Eric Waza, who's going to do really good, I reckon.
We've just finished our first 24 hours at sea. As far as progress goes and weather, things couldn't really be better. We've sailed 129 miles through the water since leaving the Eddystone Light off Plymouth, and actually made good 120 miles towards Newport. In other regards, things haven't gone quite so well. There was problems with the self-steering at the start. There's a bushing slipping. I've made temporary repairs now, and it is steering now, but it's not going to last the distance. I'll have to be playing around with it some more, I'm sure. I also made a terrific omission, and I had two different books of nautical tables which I very cleverly managed to leave behind. I was talking to John Hunt on Crystal Catfish this morning, and he was kind enough to read me off a bunch of declination figures for the next 35 or 40 days. So I'll be virtually, and this is from a person that teaches celestial navigation part-time, I'll be virtually navigating as Christopher Columbus did so many hundreds of years ago.
This is the evening of the 8th, and I just thought I'd give this camera a try down below. Wind is southerly, about force 5, and I just come down for a cup of tea. Quite pleasant down here, not so nice up above, but I better go back up there now. It's difficult to film. Maybe it'll get better after a few days, I hope so.
Well, this camera that's supposedly idiot-proof is more than met its match. I just rolled a whole cassette, I thought, and the whole thing was jammed. I think I know what was the matter, and I'll look for it the next time and try not to do it again. The weather has just been marvelous. All free winds, nothing from the west or southwest, which is just phenomenal. The multi-hulls are going to be going like rockets. I ended up hand steering about 9 hours, which was very exhausting with all the sail changing and so on. So last night I fell asleep about 9 o'clock and didn't wake up till almost 6 this morning. I was up a couple of times in the night just to look around, but I had 9 hours of virtually very restful sleep, and I feel a hell of a lot better for it.
Good morning. It's the 9th June. It's 9:45 GMT. Last night when the depression went through the area, viz wasn't too good, but I could see the lights of a couple of other yachts, so I imagine that's VSD and possibly Nick Keg. And a little while after that I heard the Europe 1 broadcast, and they gave my position as second. I didn't write down the coordinates, but if I was second, those other guys were right next to me. Actually, it's looking pretty good right now.
Hours later, the transponder signal from Mike's boat indicates he has stopped sailing. There's concern for his personal safety. Finally, a confused message leads officials to conclude that Birch is out of the race.
This is the morning of the 10th, and I'm just going to describe the accident what happened to the boat yesterday. I had a cup of coffee, been down there for about 20-30 minutes, I guess, and I was just getting ready to go back up when there was a sound like an explosion, and I actually saw a piece of wood, which is a piece of the skin, fly across in front of the centerboard case and land on the port side of the boat, along with quite a lot of water. So I got started fixing it. I didn't record this yesterday because my language, apart from anything else, would have been pretty terrible. I've made a repair which is, well, I haven't really tested it very much yet, so I don't really know, but it's a repair which will keep the water out, but it isn't structurally terribly strong. Apart from being goddamn annoyed, depressed, I guess, yesterday. I just got a long way to sail.
By tomorrow, we should be about halfway to Newfoundland. It's going to get much colder. You can see how dreadfully vicious it is out here now. Taking my life in my hands. As a matter of fact, I think I will take my life in my hands. We had a very serious breakage this morning. This is the bucket, not just any bucket. This is the bucket, very specific in use. And I poked a hole in the bottom of it. I'm going to have to make one of the most important jury rigs of my entire life to repair this bucket, or else it's going to be a dreadful trip from here on in. We've had northers for about 3 days now. They called for that. It's going to change. It's got to. It's going to be dreadful once it changes. We're spoiled now. But anyway, it's just glorious sailing. I had the little spinnaker up this morning for 3 or 4 hours, but I had the hand steer. I don't think we were going as a hell of a lot faster than we are now. We're doing between 6 and 7 knots. It's just a glorious sail. Marvelous.
Here it is, the afternoon of the 11th. It's been blowing this afternoon, and I've had to take the mainsail down and just coast along. The panel I put in to cover up the hole had started to come away again, so I had to refasten it and just go gently down the wind. Decided to keep on going to the States. I must be about 250 miles away from the leaders right now. Beginning to think maybe I'm crazy. Particularly if there's any really bad weather.
For the first week there, it was just too easy. This is like the old style.
It was about this time in the race last time that we had a pretty horrendous storm. Last where I was for 3 days. I broke the forestay, bobstay starts a leak. Boat got pretty badly bashed up. Half a dozen boats sank in that storm. And an awful lot of people turned around and went back to Plymouth, Port of France, or wherever. Oh, this is miserable. What happened to my sunshine? Anyway, we're going like a train in the right direction. That's 9 knots there we just hit. It's going to ruin my cigarette, too.
It's the 14th of June, and this morning at 10 o'clock I got a good radio bearing of Flores in the Azores. Exactly where it ought to be. Due south. I would say approximately 150 miles, something like that. I listened to Europe 1 last night, and I hear they're not giving my position. God damn them. I feel a bit embarrassed about that. I guess I shouldn't have said that I was out of the race. I'm out of contention for the race, but I'd like to be included in the race. If I see a ship, I think I'll send a message back to the Royal Western. Particularly if it's a Canadian ship or something like that.
There's 941 miles on the clock, and we're moving quite well. Not as well as we have been the last week, but we're moving not too bad, between 4 and 6 knots. There's not much water coming on board until then. There's not an awful lot of water coming on board. I would think it's about 30, 35 perhaps. But it's been an excellent sail. It's going to start to get a little slower now than it has been, but that's to be expected in the O-Star.
I've still got to do a bit more work on the boat. There was an almighty crack a little while ago, and the deck's got a crack in it, just below the repair. I guess I'm luckier than some. I've heard about one guy sinking, a friend of mine, Jacques Timset, who also had what he thought was a pretty indestructible boat. So you get good luck, you get the... I've had so much good luck that I reckon that sometimes something's got to happen.
I'm not sure how high Corvo is. It's about the size of a Canadian dime on the chart of the Azores. We're maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles off now.
Philip Will heads the fleet in the Observer Transatlantic Race by 230 miles and seems well set to break the record for a single-handed crossing of the Atlantic. With the latest positions and news of the race, here's George Zitterstein.
Phil Well's fortunate in being 230 miles ahead of the chasing group. That's Walter Green's Chaussette Olympia, Nick Kegg at the helm of 3 Legs of a Man, and with them, out of the blue, has appeared Mike Birch. He's sailing Olympus Photo, and the Beacons recently started working again. Kazimierz Jaworski and Spaniel II could be with them. But
for Bob Lush, the race is going well. In 14 days, he has sailed over 1,800 miles. Other sailors aren't as fortunate. There are reports of boats turning back, capsizing, and sinking. In spite of his setback, by this time, Mike Birch has made remarkable progress and is now approaching the east coast of Canada.
This is the general view of the world. I'm right over the what's it called? The Great Newfoundland Bank. And today the wind is force 4 or so, and close reaching pretty fast. And we're really creaming along. I'm really trying to make up a bit of time now. You know, when you're doing 12 knots, you might as well forget about looking for boats, because at that speed, you're never going to get out of anybody's way when you can only see a few yards ahead of the boat anyway. Other than that, I guess that's about it. I hope the shots of the fog come out. I'm just thought that I ought to work out of sight today. Sun's just about peaked out. Be the start of the summer, a few days.
I can understand why sailors in the old days went mad when they were becalmed. We've only been in this for about 3 hours. But it's been in similar ones for as much as 7 days. If I was just cruising, I'd go below, drop sails, go below, sleep or do whatever. But even the couple of miles we make, as hard as it is on the poor sails, it might get us into another bit of wind. There's a nice thundercloud over there. Very dark, black-looking thing. I don't know how far away it is. I'm sure there's wind under it. It seems there's clouds all around us. But nothing happening right here. We're in a hole. The only thing I can hope is we're not the only ones in it. I'd hate to think that the other guys were bombing along doing 16 knots while we're doing 11¼ of a knot. Bare steerage way. This is terrible. A knot and a quarter. Not in the right direction. But at least we're moving. Actually, it's northwest. It's not that bad. It's heading right towards that thundercloud. Geez, I hope we can keep it, that's all. Almost 3 knots. I might not commit suicide after all.
23rd of June, Monday. About 400 miles to go. Yesterday I saw the first trawlers. There's another one just passing outside of us right now. That guy over there, I imagine he's a Russian. I can't see very well yet. All that crossing the Atlantic when there isn't anybody around, you go to sleep, you don't worry about anything at night. That's all over now. And of course, it's nice getting to the end of the race. I mean, that's for sure, but you can't relax anymore.
Just past the halfway mark of the trip, we come to a very dramatic moment. Just smoking up the last cigarette. A little soggy. But it looks lovely. A little damp. At almost $2 a pack Canadian, I just couldn't afford to buy anymore. I don't know if this is going to be my last ever cigarette, or if I'll start smoking again as soon as I can.
I feel sorry for Phil in a way. Here he is about 100 miles in the lead. With only about 300 to go or whatever it is. People are sneaking up behind him in this light wind. Phil Well wins the All-Star. That would be the greatest thing.
Phil Wells will likely finish the race today, and I'm just halfway. Damn it. And on top of that, I had no cigarettes. Well, what can you do?
That's right. He has crossed the ocean alone. He's made it in, what, about 17 years? To date, no American has won the race.
He said he would sail it for the grandfathers, and 65-year-old Phil Weld in Moxie is first into Newport. He's also the first American ever to win the race. His time of 17 days, 23 hours, and 12 minutes is almost 3 days faster than the previous record. There are no cash prizes for O-Star winners. The reward is simply the satisfaction of facing a tough personal challenge and succeeding.
But, we have no definite knowledge of what's going to happen at all.
In the Observer hut, there is some confusion about the race for second place. No one knows for sure.
Then you've got Nick Kick somewhere.
Yes.
But definitely your husband is second.
Well, no, you shouldn't say that, because I don't think that's, it's still anybody's for second, isn't it?
At 4:13 that same afternoon, Mike Birch crosses the line. It's a fourth place finish, just 8 hours short of Phil Weld's time and well under the previous record.
Don't tell me you came all the way and not just...
Michael! Good to see you. I'd like to see you, but I don't know about your camera.
Hello, Mike. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I know it's a bit late. I can stop the water coming in. Stop the water coming in.
Yes.
I pumped all the time to keep, not all the time, but just bucketing it out.
Yeah.
But the bulkhead, well, I'll show you. The problem is that the bulkhead cracked.
Oh, you'll see it. It's underneath the starboard wing deck. I've just asked someone to go and get some beer. Hope they won't.
So what did you put in this first?
Some wood.
Oh, no.
Before the 18th day is over, 6 trimarans will tie up in Newport, all well under the previous record. It will be another 24 hours before the first monohull will finish, sailed by Jaworski of Poland. For most of the O-Star fleet, including Bob, the finish line is still a long way off.
Jesus, it ever blowing. Ooh. We're virtually hove to. We're fore-reaching slowly at 2 or 3 knots under just a scrap of the mainsail. We just can't fight into that. Blowing a steady 45 or 50, gusting to 70. I think it's like the bad as I've ever seen it. It's just kicking the hell out of the boat. And me, I'm all cuts and bruises. I whack my finger a couple more times and boom. But no one said about the yacht, did they? It doesn't matter how often I bail, there's still water all over the goddamn
place. For over 2 weeks, Bob battles storms, calms, and heavy ocean currents, which at times push him backwards. He had hoped to cross in 30 days, but the Gulf Stream has added another full week to his voyage.
I'd rather have gales or anything than that. There's just nothing I can do. God, I can't row the boat much faster than this. Really, it's just soul destroying. Figure out Jill's schedule, and I thought perhaps she'd likely be flying down to Boston tomorrow. I would think that the cruise to Newport, that they would all be in Newport now. Jeez, I wish I was there now, though. Oh, damn.
Hopefully we'll still have a big crowd here. A lot of them have to get back to work. Hopefully he's going to make it the next day or so. I think it would be great if we could put a big show of Canadian flags coming into the Good Island Marina and let everybody know that he's got a welcome that's sort of special.
Well, we're really trucking along. There's no two ways about it. As a matter of fact, we're a little below our course. We'll be running right into Martha's Vineyard here unless I keep my eyes open. By the time we get everything sorted out and get into Goat Island, it'll just be noon. Oh, would I like a nice lunch. Salad, meat, oh. And some nice drafts from Michelob. Oh. Ooh, anyway. It looks good. It really looks good.
So how far out is it?
Well, that's a debatable point again because it's anywhere from 100 to 80 miles out.
Yeah.
Could be a double day.
Yeah, it could be anywhere from 11 this morning to 11 tonight, depending on
I think
the
it'd be
wind.
around noon. It'd be here for noon. Yeah, oh yeah.
In time for his beer.
I smell it, as we say in France.
Yeah, it all depends.
And I'm gonna do something if he doesn't show up anyway.
You are. You're going to go out and blow?
Punch. And I've got an article ready for the magazine. Waiting for Bubblish, you know?
The computers have only been working intermittently. Bob's exact position is still in doubt.
It's working. Bob Lush is listed as 41 miles away.
The last satellite feed was at 2 a.m. He is a lot closer, so Jill sets out to meet him. In the clutter of small craft, Bob slips into the harbor, missing Jill and many of the Canadian well-wishers. His voyage of 39 days is 1 day faster than the winning time for the first O-Star.
Where were you? Oh God, has he ever lost weight? He looks great with a beard. Oh, he hurt his finger. Bob, what happened to your fingers? Bent.
My best friend.
Uh-oh.
He's been very supportive.
Uh-oh. You know everything. Thank you. You're a winner.